My name is Mike Dark.
And I am Richard Wagner.
We're back.
Do exactly as we say and no one gets hurt.
We're back. This is Radio Waves and Other Noises, our Radio Waves reboot. My name is Mike Stark.
And Richard Wagner.
And we're back with part 4 of our Don Barrett interview, which is a history of LA radio, modern LA radio. It's not a complete history, and we need to point that out. For example, today's show is going to be about morning teams. And we're going to cover 2 or 3 in the interview, but there's been a lot of LA morning teams, right, Richard?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the thing about it, though, is Don is actually focusing on the groundbreaking morning teams that actually changed morning radio more than others, and he didn't get into the newer stuff. Even when he was being interviewed, he wasn't really talking about the teams that were in existence at the time. The ones like Kevin and Bean, they aren't mentioned. London and Engelman weren't mentioned. That was one of my favorite teams. Does he even mention Mark and Brian? I don't think so.
No, Mark and Brian aren't mentioned, but they were a big team here in town.
Yeah.
So today we're going to cover morning teams with Don Barrett, the great Don Barrett. Before we get off Robert W. Morgan completely, I've got another air check here that's kind of fun to listen to, if nothing else. Plus, it also spotlights one of the big morning teams that were here in Los Angeles, Hudson and Landry. What can you tell us about Hudson and Landry? Of course, Emperor Hudson.
Emperor Hudson was probably one of the very best storytellers in the history of Southern California radio. He and Sweet Dick Whittington, they knew how to weave a tale. I don't know how many times that Emperor Hudson would begin a story. I would pull into a parking lot someplace, and I'd have to sit there until he finished the story. He was just marvelous.
Let me set this up a little bit. This is Hudson and Landry, and as I understand it, Robert W. Morgan was on the air over at KHJ. They must have been at different time slots, but this is Robert W. Morgan on KGBS.
When he's trying to get the Don Imus record
right,
played?
You've heard this. Okay.
This is fun.
This is a fun little air check. So this is Hudson and Landry.
I told him somebody was coming from KHJ, and they called, not that real Don Steele. He drives us nuts. Can't stand him. And he's got the St. Vitus dance. Yeah. How'd you like to put him in a room with J. Paul Getty? J. Paul Getty's teeth clicking, liver spots jumping around, and real Don Steele saying, right on, baby. Go ahead and die. Go ahead. Yeah, guys. Yeah, Bob, you're not going to scream now. Hey, tell him about... We told you earlier, Bob made a bet with Don Imus, but a lot of the people who were listening earlier aren't now, so you are, and here he. Yeah.
Well, I made a bet. He bet me $1,000 I wouldn't play his new record.
I see.
And I made the bet. He got drunk. You know how he gets.
Oh, sure.
He went back to New York and got crazy. He gets drinking and on that dope and stuff.
Is he still on the dope?
Oh, sure.
Boy, that's the only way he can do it. That's bad. That's bad.
So I said I'd play it, and I bet him $1,000. So I didn't mention what radio station. So since you guys are buddies of mine, I thought I'd come over here. I mean, why should I tune out all my audience?
That's right. So you're going to play the record, and you're going to get the grand. Now, that's payola, isn't it?
No, it's a bet.
It's a bet. Don Imus is that dumb. I told him, you're going to the big town. You're going to be dealing with big timers now. I said, this isn't, Indio. I can climb date trees without falling out. You want to watch? I say, Don, not in New York.
Yeah, and I've already split the 1,000 with Bill Balance anyway.
So we told Don that if it bombs in New York, he can always get a job at K-Day here. Right. Go over with his hero.
Are you naked?
Go over with his hero.
Anyway, this new smash by Don Imus is called Son of Checkers, the Watergate Case, and it's just absolutely outrageous. Just the biggest stiff I've ever heard in my life, but I need the money. Dig it, guys?
We're going to play it. We'll discuss it after. Take a listen to the new stiff by Diane Imus. Not Diane, Don.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it.
Hasta la Gagne.
You've got a world premiere of that, guys. That favor you did me that time in Chicago when you came to play Mr. Kelly's, I finally paid it back.
Oh, this is the time we woke you up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, right? By the way, that chick still wants her money.
Bob, you said you paid for that.
The check bounced.
Hey, one Watergate at a time. That's a great record. That Imus is nuts. He's a madman. Yeah, that's going to be a big record. It's a little long, though. Hey, Don. Oh, no, it's not long. But it's a funny record. Because you got to hear it several times, too. What's on the other side?
Same thing. Shorter version.
Oh, I see. Okay. Hey, that's funny stuff. You're gonna play it a lot over there, aren't you?
Oh, just every day.
What are you playing? How many up to 4 records now?
I don't pick on you guys. We're only going to play the part where they sing "Tie Yellow Ribbon Around the Old Oak Tree."
Okay, that's good. Enjoy the $1,000. I think everybody will be playing that. Yeah, it's a big record. But I'll tell you, Bob, he'll stiff you. Oh, he won't send the money. He won't get the money. He won't get no. He won't. No, we call him in New York. Are you playing our album? Oh yeah. Sure, we're playing it. Yeah. And we hear some engineer in the background say, "Hey man, you ain't played that." That's Imus. He'll stiff you. And then Imus says, "Shut up, man. I'll send you back to the car wash in Philadelphia."
Is Bill Balance around here somewhere?
Yeah, he doesn't get here. Oh no, he's home now taking Nervine. He misunderstood the priest. They give him last rites, and he told him to take a novena. He'll be in a little bit later. Hey, look, enjoy your $1,000.
Thank you, Mom. I want to wait for him. I want to see him go.
You know where winter really hits hardest?
Doesn't get much better than that, does it?
Well, you think about how much fun that was, and is that what we're hearing on radio today?
Good point, Don. Good point. Of course, we heard Hudson and Landry there. L.A. has had a lot of morning teams. We've still got them now. In fact, you covered the other day Mark and Kim, the longest-running team in L.A., right?
Well, they've been 17 years mornings at KOST. It's kind of fun to think about a morning team with a male and a female. They, from the very beginning, got equal pay.
Wow.
And so if you think back to the mid-'80s when the man always got more than the woman, the fact that they were farsighted enough, thorough enough to begin that process to be on equal status.
Coast 103.5 and a Most Music Morning with LA's best variety of continuous soft hits.
That's Bruce Springsteen there, Streets of Philadelphia. We heard Paradise from Sade. Katie Lang, too, Constant Craving.
It's 7:50, 10 minutes away from 8 o'clock with Mark and Kim by Mark Wallengren.
Along with Kim Amadon, a high of 72 today. The rain pretty well behind us now.
Yeah, it's partly cloudy out and 58 degrees currently.
I think we have to step into the Coast 103 bar, if you don't mind.
For this next story, which is going to take us about 12,000 feet underwater.
Have you heard about this? Scientists aboard a submarine have stumbled across 2 male octopus of different species engaged in whoopee on the bottom of the sea there.
Boy. My goodness, you're all hands, aren't you? Wow. Big boy.
The male octopus sexual apparatus is like a tentacle, the article says.
So there's like 11 arms then.
Which is inserted into the mantle cavity of the main opening of the body, both of the male and the female. So that's kind of interesting.
Fascinating. Welcome to biology.
Well, it is kind of interesting to study nature and see how they do things. And I just think that maybe it's time to rename the species octopus.
Now you got to think maybe the...
What a beautiful soul.
Yeah. Ah, jeez.
Isn't that funny?
Mike Nolan's in the Coast 103 airplane. He'll check your drive to work coming up in just a moment.
Coasting through the morning.
7:38's the time, 22 from 8.
Here's Katie Lang.
Mark and Kim, Coast 103.5.
But they bicker, just like all teams have bickered. And
well, as you pointed out in your article, they spend more time together than you do with your wife.
Well, you think
on a
about
daily
it.
basis.
Well, I mean, the psychiatrists, they'll ask a very pointed question. How much time do you spend talking to your child? And the average is 40 seconds a day. How much time do you spend talking to your wife? Well, it's around 3 minutes. Honey, I'm home.
Right.
What's for dinner? And you piece it all together, and you got about 3 minutes. Now, in a studio where you're looking at each other for 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours, That's a long time
That is a long time.
Get along, if you will.
That's right. Hudson and Landry were one of the big teams, but I think probably the granddaddy of them all were Loman and Barkley. Would you agree? Or?
Loman and Barkley certainly, in the last half century, stand out as the epitome of what a morning team can do. They translated from KLAC to KFWB, and most people remember them from their KFI days. What's really fascinating about them is that they really never had ratings success. They were not the number one morning team. They were not the number one morning show. But because they did unique things, they could get from the commercial world more money than people who were rated much higher than them because they sold product. And anybody who listened to Loman and Barkley in Southern California, they were kind of patterned after Bob and Ray in New York for your listeners who may be on the East Coast. They just had a whimsy kind of a quality to them.
And for those that don't know the undoing of Loman and Barkley, can you tell that story?
Well, they were involved not only in the radio show, but they got involved in television, not only local television, but they tried the syndication route. They also did shows in Las Vegas. So the proximity to the two of them was enormous for a couple of decades. One of them had a drinking problem that used to grate on the other. And one day, it was all over. They clicked off the microphone. They walked out of the studio. Not only did they never come back to the studio, they never talked to each other again.
Sad end. Happier times, though. This is from KFI. You mentioned that that's probably where more people knew about them. I knew about them from the KFWB days, but they became pretty big at KFI, and this is from the KFI days.
And now, the Loman and Barkley $1 Million Contest.
$1 million, W?
That's right. Now, this is what we call, this common type of contest in radio. It's diminishing value. In other words, it starts at $1 million.
Oh,
if it isn't answered, as time goes on, the value will decrease. So the trick is to get in as quickly as possible. Now, you give the telephone number and people can call.
Oh, people call, and then what? They answer a question?
They answer a question, a historical question, which Ted will pose because it has to be a difficult one, and he's our historian on the staff.
All right, fine. So the number then, if you want to play our $1 Million Loman and Barkley Contest, is 388-7191.
All right, here is the question. During the Battle of Bunker Hill, someone said, "Don't fire till you see the white of their blank." The white of their what? Call now for the Loman and Barkley $1 Million Contest.
All right, the clock has begun, and W, we have punched up a number here, 388.
Money is down to $500,000.
7191 is the number. Now, do we find out who
Repeat that number and make sure they've got it.
388-7191.
Money is down to $100,000.
100,000 at 388-7191. The time I hear your
$50,000.
I hear the metronome clicking away the time. Do you want to take your call here?
$1,000.
Find out who you have.
Down to $10.
Who we have.
And the money, it's the value of the prize now is down to an eggplant. So now, for an eggplant, who do we have on the phone?
I don't know. I've been trying to find out.
I don't know. Go ask her.
Who are you?
But I don't like eggplant.
You'll like it, you'll take it, you'll win it, and like it.
What is your name?
Pat Lamb from West Covina.
Pat? All right, Pat, for an eggplant. Don't fire till you see the whites of their what?
Eyes.
No, it was underwear. I'm sorry you don't win.
Cover your old sofa or chair with a furniture throw.
Loman and Barkley. That's pretty typical of the type of stuff they did on the air, too.
Well, you heard one of them laughing at the other. They were extemporaneous from the standpoint that they never planned any of their bits. They had a running soap opera. They never knew where they were going from one day to the next. They had to kind of review the previous day to find out where they had gotten to, where they could now go. But they just used to wing it, and it was Al Loman with those zany voices, and many times he would get the characters confused, and which would really crack up Roger. Right. And Al used to love to tease Roger all of the time. They got together by accident at KLAC. They were in the midst of a format change. And the station was going to fire everybody, and Roger was the program director, and Al was on the air. They had maybe a month before they were going to change formats. They said, "Why don't we do a show together? We're going to get fired anyway. Let's have some fun. Yeah. Maybe they'll keep the two of us, and we'll do it." And it just kind of grew out of there. And what they did with the commercial world, Longo Toyota became just an institution in Southern California because of their zany commercials and the freedom. And who has the wherewithal today to allow a personality to do that kind of fun shtick?
Yeah, amazing.
Okay, there you have it. Morning teams of LA. We covered some of them, at least the groundbreaking ones.
This is fun because you hear things you don't really know about the teams, the little background, how they got along, things like that. I think it's fun.
We'll be back again next week. And next week we're going to cover FM and the growth of FM in LA radio. Be sure and subscribe on Spotify. Leave us a 5-star review somewhere on one of the platforms because we're available on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and others. And subscribe to our Facebook page as well. And Richard will be back with a spinoff of this show shortly after we finish this series. Can you tell us anything more about that?
It'll be called SoCal Radio Waves, focusing really on Southern California, but it will cover, just like my column, it'll still cover national and regional areas. Just things I like. And it's going to maintain a focus on trying to be positive, bringing out the positive side of radio. Very similar to what Don Barrett did.
Okay, we'll see you again next week for another edition of Radio Waves and Other Noises.
Goodbye.